Oh, I forgot to tell you, we need a strap.
Okay.
Before we settle in, hanging, remember, are the clean ones on the shelves. Grab yourself a strap. Yeah, all those hanging are clean on either corner. And then start to settle in. Let yourself sit however's comfortable. You know, you're welcome to sit up on a blanket. You're welcome to stretch your legs out or cross your legs, whatever works for your hips. So take your time and settle in, shift around a little bit. You're good. And then just close your eyes. Let yourself feel top of the head reaching up gently. Feel that alignment. So you're not lifting your chin up, you're not tucking it down, you just feel really easy. Really, the head starts to feel very weightless up there on top. And then feel your breath coming in and going out through your nose. Feeling the breath coming into the belly. If you can let your breath deepen into those three parts, you can inhale into the belly, into the ribs, all the way up into your chest. Start to bring your awareness to your navel and see if you can easily make little circles with your navel here. Keep going in one direction. Inhale as the navel comes forward. Exhale when you draw the navel towards your spine. Inhale as you head forward again, so that you just keep circling. Doesn't matter how big or small. Stay really small with the circles. You can let them get bigger and bigger. Feel how your belly, your low back, your hips are warming up a little bit there. And we are going to reverse directions, so you stop where you choose and come off into the other direction with those circles. Again, really focusing on the breath, the movement of the navel, however small or big it is. As you finish off, to come back up to center, take your time, come on back to lengthen up through the spine here, and release your hands on out, fingertips lightly touching the ground. And let's tilt our head to the left. Let your head tilt a little bit to the left and feel that release there through the right side of the neck. And then rise on back up to center with your head and come the other way. Rise on back up. Let's inhale the right arm out and up overhead. And now let your left hand be on the floor to give you support as you come over into side stretch. So for a second, let your palm face forward. Let yourself feel the palm facing really just forward of you, eased up into your shoulder a little bit there. And then rotate your hand to turn your palm to face the floor. And see if you can turn your head to look down towards your left hand there on the floor. If it feels okay, you might even want to draw your chin down towards you a little bit. Totally up to you. Just find a release for your neck there. And then we're going to rise all the way on back up, lowering that right arm down. And inhale the left arm all the way out and up. And we're going to use that right hand to give us support. Turn your palm forward again. Let yourself feel that stretch all the way through the left side of the body down into the side waist. And then rotate your palm to face down towards the ground. And again, start to turn your head as well, to look down towards your right hand. And again, if you want to move your head around a little bit more when you get there, do it. If you find a place that you just really need to stay, letting there be a little bit different angle to your head, go for it. And then we're going to rise on back up again. Once you're up here this time, bring your hands behind you, interlace your fingers, and now flex your feet, press down into the outside edges of your feet, and think about your chest leading you forward a little bit. So just coming as far as you want into a little bit of a forward bend. It might be an inch or so. Might be that you want to lie further out over your legs. That's take your time. Again, just imagine your chest leading you. Good. One more breath here. And then start to draw yourself on back up to sitting. Release your fingertips out onto the floor beside you. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline in front of our chests. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. Now remember which leg you have in front. We're going to lean back a little bit and bring our feet to the floor and hold behind our thighs. And then just lift your feet up for a little bit of a boat pose. Flex your feet a little bit. You can stay right there. You don't have to let go of your legs. You can if you want to. So think of kind of drawing your ribs towards your thighs. One more breath here. Again, if you want to release, do. That's totally optional. And then remember which leg you want to recross. So different leg in front, and see if you can just come on down and sitting. Lift yourself up if you need to. Adjust your sitting bones. Sitting up nice and tall here. And then from there, we're going to, again, let your chest lead forward. This time, though, put your hands down to give you a little support. And you might want to go farther and farther and farther. This is totally up to you, and you know it. So if it feels good to come farther forward, even to let your back round a little bit, go right ahead and do it. Just be mindful. Let yourself feel that release in the back and the hips and your neck. Just make sure you're not tensing up in your neck. Let go through your face and your jaw as well. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll slowly walk ourselves on back up, fingertips out onto the floor beside us. Inhale here. And on the exhale, let's twist to our left. Bring yourself around, right hand, maybe towards your left knee, maybe to the midline. You know, how far you turn your head to look behind you is up to you. You might want to experiment with looking back a little farther. One more inhale. And as you exhale, come on back to center. Now stay in center for a breath. Take a nice inhale here. And as you exhale, draw your navel towards your spine, round into your back, like you're doing a little cat pose seated, right? And then when you inhale, send your tailbone down and your sits bones down and roll back up into a nice long back. Inhale once you're here. And on the exhale, we're going to twist to our right, bringing our left hand maybe to the right knee. Again, just take your time. Let yourself enjoy that waking up of the spine and the twist. And of course, you can think of turning to look with your head a little farther back if you want. Good. One more breath. And then use your belly to help you come on back around into center. And let's stretch our right leg out beside us. Let your left, if possible, your left foot stay here, kind of so the heel's kind of to the midline of the body. If that bothers your knee, put your foot farther out. If it's really a bother, don't even keep it bent. Because all we're going to do is focus on the inner right thigh here and come a little bit forward until you feel it, and it doesn't take much. So let yourself release forward as much as you want to go. Feel the heel of the right foot on the floor. So you're drawing it back towards you. You're very engaged in that long leg. And you might get a little bit going on in your inner thigh there. If you don't get anything and you want to go farther, right? One more breath. And then we're going to slowly come back up. All we're going to do is switch legs. So bring that left leg out, and it's a little over to the side. Again, you got to position this foot here in front of you where you're okay for your knee, for your hip. And then when you come forward again, focusing on this long leg, knee and toe face up towards the ceiling. Feel the heel drawing back towards you. And there's your inner thigh. So be mindful. If it's too much, don't go very far, right? Just take your time, let yourself find stretch that at least wakes up the leg a little bit there. Good, so one more breath. And then we'll come on back up, and let's stretch both legs out in front of us for a second. And let yourself turn your legs in and out a little bit. So you actually are feeling like you're turning out from your hips as your pinky toes face down. And let the knees be soft. So you're just like really releasing into your hips here. Good. And then do little wiper blades. You can go this different directions like that. You can go this way. I used to say old fashioned, but now a lot of the new cars do this, don't they? Instead of this. And the old ones used to all do this, didn't they? Didn't cars used to always? Well, anyway, shake it out. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. I'm losing my mind here. So take your time, and if you feel like you want to use a blanket underneath your knees, do it. Under your hands, be comfortable for your wrists, come to fist if you need to. And then just let yourself easily drop into your cat pose and feel your tailbone dropping down and your sit bones. And when you're ready, send the tailbone back and up. Easily flow back through as much into a cow as you want. You know that. So take your time and move at your own pace. So today you may feel like moving ultra slowly. You may feel like moving a little quickly, you know? Let it feel very natural and easy. And remember, if your breathing ends up being the opposite when you go into cat or cow, it doesn't matter. It's fine to breathe either way. So finish off. To come back to more neutral spine. Let's send our right foot behind us on the floor. You might have to adjust your left knee to where you feel pretty comfortable there. Press into the heel, wake up the back of the leg. And then send your left hand forward. Fingertips are on the floor. The arm is long. It's just reaching forward towards the front of your mat or beyond. And then when you inhale, lift your hand and your foot both up off the floor, parallel to the floor with your arm and your leg. And now exhale them back down, right where they were. And then again, inhale, rising up with the hand and the leg. And exhale, letting them come back down. And then one more time. Inhale, rising up. And exhale, coming down. Let's bring the hand back under the shoulder, knee back under the hip. Stretch your left leg long. At first, just press into the heel and wake up into the back of that leg. And again, kind of adjust your right knee where you feel comfortable to reach that right hand forward, being on the fingertips so that it reaches forward now. And then again, think of inhaling the hand and the foot both up off the floor. And as you exhale, let them come back down. So again, inhaling, rising the arm and the leg parallel to the floor. And exhale, letting them come back down. And then one more time, inhaling, rising up. down and bring the hand and the knee back. And let's shift back towards pose of a child. And you know you don't have to go all the way. You go as far as you choose. You're more than welcome to bend your elbows and put your hands up onto your upper back. You can keep your arms soft overhead or do whatever feels good for you, right? Wherever you need the release, breathe into the low back. So really come into that breath. Let yourself be grounded here with your breath. Good, and then we'll bring the hands on back overhead. Come on back up to all fours. Let's step our left foot forward, and you might want to grab your blocks. We're going to keep the back knee down, and we're just going to shift our hips forward a little bit. Now don't exaggerate it doing this. Let yourself take your time. You might just want to go a little ways. You may want to go further. Feel the top of the back foot into the floor gently. Just waking up here into the front of the right hip. Good. And then all we're going to do is switch. So bringing that knee back, stepping the right foot forward, and then again, when you shift your hips, be mindful. And press into the top of the foot there. Feeling engaged as you come into opening the front of the left hip. Good. Now let's switch again. And this time, instead of going forward, think about shifting your hips backward and straightening out that left knee and letting yourself come into releasing a bit deeper into the back of that left leg. Just kind of waking it up a little bit more. Good. And then we're going to switch legs, so just go ahead and bring that knee back, step the right foot forward. And then when you come into that straighter leg, shift your hips back a little bit. Give yourself support there. Press into the ball of the foot a little bit. Good. Now bring your right knee back. Let's step our left foot forward again. And this time let's go ahead and lift up into lunge. So take your time. Be any height you want to be on your blocks. You can be highest. You can be middle. You can be lowest. You can have hands on the floor if you want. You know that. Just take your time. Make sure that alignment of that front knee is there. You're not letting it bend out beyond your toes. Good. Now if you can, step back into plank here. Take a breath before you switch your legs out. And then when you're ready, bring the right foot forward and come into your lunge on the other side. Feel the length in the back of the body. Let your whole body get into that lunge. Nice. And then we'll step forward and come into standing forward bend. And be very mindful. Whatever you need for support, whatever you need, whether your back needs to stay long, you need to have hands on the blocks or elbows above your knees. Or maybe it feels really good to let yourself release a little farther forward. Ease your way into your standing forward bend, giving the backs to the legs just time to open up just by watching your breath. Let the pose do it for you. Let yourself just be with your breath. Good, and then we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So finding your mountain pose, take your time, get your feet just the distance apart that feels good for you. If you need to look at your feet, do, or arrange anything, do. And then let your hands just gently be right there in front of your chest. Whether your eyes are opened or closed, let it feel really easy to imagine you're looking out beyond the wall towards the horizon. And then just imagine that you're breathing in and out through every pore of your skin at the same time. So if you were, just think about how easy it would be to feel very, very balanced. feeling like the whole body gets nourished by the breath at the same exact second, right? Really kind of wakes you up. Let's release our arms on down beside us and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bend our knees as we come on forward into that standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat back. Remember, you can bend your knees as much as you want to. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge. Good. Inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So take your time. First dog here. You know, you do what you need. You bend your knees if you need to. Be really mindful of letting yourself find your dog where your shoulders are comfortable. You're reaching back through both sitting bones equally so the sides of the body are equal. And then we'll come on out towards a plank. Nice and strong. Engage the belly. And we're going to lower down. Knees first if you need. Elbows right by the ribs. And we'll come on into a sphinx with our elbows under our shoulders. For a second, turn your palms up. And let your hands relax, which means your fingers usually curl inward a little bit, right? So you're really releasing all the way through your hands into your fingers. Feel the forearms on the floor, whether you have your elbows down more towards your waist or right under your shoulders. Just enjoy feeling that lift to the back. And then we'll slowly come on back down. Bring your hands by your chest. We're going to come on back to down dog. Whether you come through a full or a half push-up, reaching your way back into your downward facing dog pose. Elbows hug inward. Spread the fingers nice and wide. We will bring our right foot forward to find lunge from here. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And again, be mindful of your own back. Whatever works. You can hold elbows if you like to. You can let your hands release onto your calves if that feels good, or up onto your back. Feel the feet and the floor equally. And then we'll bring our hands back up to our hips, bend our knees, rising on up, and inhale the arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right up through the midline, and then open your arms into an open V. Let your palms face each other, your pinkies turn inward, mountain with arms overhead. And see if you can shift just a little bit to the balls of the feet and to the heels. So you're just barely shifting forward and back. Not so much feel like you're going to fall over. Good. And then release back to center. Feel very equal between the balls of the feet and the heels. Bring your hands together, clasp them, turn the palms out up towards the ceiling here. Press up into the heels of your hands. And then lean over a little bit to the left and press up into the heel of your right hand a little more. So that left elbow might bend. That's fine. Let it bend. Let yourself focus on the right side of the body. And then come on back up and go to the other side. So focusing on pressing into the heel of the left hand. Kind of let that right arm relax a little bit, if you know what I mean. It's like it's being held up there by your fingers clasped. And then come on back up to the top. Bend your elbows. Bring your hands behind your head. And let your head press gently into your hands. Keep your chin parallel to the floor at first. Now, if you feel comfortable to do this, you can start to rise the chin up. Keep supporting your head with your hands. Let yourself open up into that lift at the base of your shoulder blades. Now, make sure right now you're not tucking your tailbone forward. I find I am a little bit myself. Reach back, down with the tailbone like it's reaching between your heels. One more breath. And then bring your gaze on back forward. Let's stretch the arms back into that wide open V. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come back into that standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a long spine. And we'll step the left foot back to come into lunge. Good. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Press out, back out of your hands equally. Hug your elbows towards each other. Remember, you don't want to feel like you're pulling your shoulders up by your ears, but you also don't want to feel like you're forcing them down away from your ears. There's that happy middle place. And we'll come on out to plank. Nice and strong. See if in your plank you can lift your right foot a little off the floor. Just a little bit. Three-legged plank. Put it back down. Switch to the left. Lift the left foot up just a little bit. And put it back down. And then we're going to lower down, whether you put your knees down first or not, up to you. Elbows by the ribs. And now float your upper body up just a little bit. Don't go high in your cobra. Let it be like a baby cobra. Elbows are hugging in towards your ribs. Take your time there. On your next exhale, lower your head back down to the floor. Take a breath into your low back. And then again, on your next inhale, float up a little bit. Now, if you want more, go right ahead on up. Keep pressing into your hands. Let yourself come up higher into your cobra. Totally up to you whether you want to do that or not. Remember, let yourself find your shoulders away from your ears, elbows a little bent. And then we'll come on back down. We're going to make our way back to down dog from here. So you can come back through your hands and knees or back through a full push-up. And this time we'll bring our left foot forward to find that lunge. And then we'll come on back again into standing forward bend. Get your feet set. Lift your toes up for a second. If your hands can reach down there and give your toes a little massage, you can take each toe and just give it a little massage from the root up through the center and kind of let yourself wake your toes up a little bit there with that little massage through. Good, and after the little toe love, let it come on back down, let them come back down to the floor, but try to let it be soft, like if you were to be like cat claws gripping with your toes, do that for a second, like you really, really grip and pull the toes down and squunch them up, really squunch them up. And then let them release again long and let them lie gently to the floor. Appreciate your toes for a second more. And then bring your hands to your hips. Rise on up to standing. We'll inhale the arms out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. Moving with the breath now. Release your arms on down beside you. Inhale both arms out and up. And on the exhale, we're going to come on forward. Let your next inhale lengthen your spine. And exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Let your inhale bring you to plank. And your exhale will lower you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice. And exhale back to your down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees rising all the way up to the top with the breath. Let your exhale fold you forward. Inhale into that long back. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into that down dog. Let your inhale bring you to your plank. Your exhale will lower you down. And inhale into that cobra of choice. Exhaling back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees rising up to the top. And let your exhale fold you forward again. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to come into down dog. Place your hands, come into dog however you want. Spread your fingers nice and wide. And wag your tail a little bit if you want, or walk your dog if that feels good. Just let a little movement happen in your dog that helps you get just easier in your dog. Good. We're going to bring our left foot forward. We're coming up from warrior two. You might want to get your blocks handy here. So line up your heels. Bend into that front knee. Be mindful there. See if you can float your left heel a little bit up off the floor. Find that sense of releasing that left hip downward a little bit, the outer hip downward. And then go ahead and release your heel back down. If you want to change your stance to be a little longer or shorter, by all means do. And then from here, let's look back over our right shoulder, rise our right arm, our back arm up, straight back from our shoulder. And now real slowly start to turn your head to the left. Slowly as you can, actually. Taking your time to turn your head to look over your left shoulder finally. And then floating that left arm up. Get both hands a tiny bit higher than your shoulders. Soften your shoulders down. Lower the hands then to a place where you feel just perfect to look out over the top of that hand. Maybe right out over your middle finger. Just saying. Just bring yourself into that sense of looking out beyond the wall. Coming into Warrior Two. We're going to straighten that left knee out. And we're coming into triangle. So as you bring your left hand down, let the right arm, if you can, just keep on going upward towards the ceiling. And you can grab a block if you like to put your hand on a block in front of or behind your foot or onto your leg. Let yourself lengthen out through the crown of your head. Feel your thighs lifting upward towards your hips. Good. Really find that length now. Now see if you can let that right top arm descend down right towards your head so you come into more of a side stretch. So you end up with the fingertips reaching like overhead, like you're stretching that arm as long as it can go. One more breath. Now turn to look at the floor, and we're going to come into lunge. So you might want both hands on blocks. That's up to you. Coming into finding your lunge here. And we're going to add a twist of choice. So you can bring your left hand up to your left hip. Rolling the shoulder up, hand staying on your low back or reaching your arm up. Or if you like twisted prayer, you all know you're welcome to do that. Find where you can. Good, and then we're going to release and let our hand come on back down. And we're going to come on back to down dog from here. So once you get into your downward facing dog pose, you decide, do you want to come into any kind of vinyasa or kriya? You are more than welcome to come out for plank, move down to the floor and come into a back bend, or come right from that plank into an up dog. So be mindful, take your time. Remember, it's a matter of whether you want to move fast or slow too, which totally changes how these vinyasas and kriyas feel. Good, let's meet back in down dog. From here, we're going to bring our right foot forward, and we're coming up for Warrior Two on the other side. So remember, if you need your blocks here for all of what we just did on the other side, take your time, get your heels lined up. Again, if you can lift that right heel up a little bit and kind of look at the alignment of that right knee, and imagine releasing that outer right hip down, which will line the knee up with the center of the foot when the heel is up. And then bring the heel on back down. And now really lifting that left arm up, slowly turn and look back over the top of your hand. You've got the hand right in the right place. But try not to be in a big hurry to turn your head back around. I know, it's kind of harder to move slow than quickly, right? So very slowly starting to turn your head back and eventually ending up to look over your right shoulder. Once you're there, floating your arm on up, hands a little higher than your shoulders, shoulders melt down. And once you lower your hands down, just to that right spot, you know when it's there, because it feels so easy. Bringing your gaze right out over your middle finger. Feel the shoulders soften down, but the fingertips reaching away from the midline. And feel the feet equal in the floor there. The power and strength of your Warrior Two. And we're going to straighten the front leg out. Right leg comes straight. Right hand comes down for triangle. So again, you can use your leg. You can grab a block. That block can be in front of or behind your right leg there. Feel the sense of thighs engaging up towards the hips. Some of you might even want to turn to look at the top hand. I forgot to say that on the other side. If that feels good to press your left hand a little forward and turn to look up at it, you can. Feel that lovely stretch through the left side there. And now see if you can add to that stretch by lowering your left arm down towards your head. Reach out through the fingertips, come into that huge long side stretch. Your legs are still straight, you're still lifting your thighs up towards your hips. Good. We're going to turn to look at the floor, and we're going to come into lunge. So it's kind of easy to grab a block if you like to there, or bring your hands to the floor. Your twist of choice, right hand to the right hip or the low back, or stretching that arm up, or of course twisted prayer, bringing your left elbow to your right knee if you want. Find what feels good. And then we'll release to come on back into lunge, and we're going to make our way back into downward facing dog pose. Once you're in dog, let yourself come on out to your plank, and then you can lower down, either with your knees first or elbows by the ribs. And then from here, let's all come to the tops of our feet, lift up into a baby cobra, and then see about pressing into your hands and coming into up dog where the knees are off the floor with the feet pointed. If that doesn't feel good, don't do it. And then let's release back down to the floor. Bend both your knees, and right now open your knees out to the outside edges of your mat and bring the soles of your feet towards each other. If you want, you can let the feet reach down towards the ground. If not, keep them up, Let your hips release a little bit there. Good. One more breath. Good. And then bring the knees back underneath you. Stretch your legs back long. And we're going to come on back into down dog, however you choose to get there. And go ahead and add what you like here. If you'd like to do some more vinyasas or kriyas, go for it. If you'd rather just come out to plank and go back into dog, by all means do that. But take your time. Move through. Fast or slow. If you'd rather open your hips, lift the leg up in the air and open your hips, do. Good. And then, if you're doing something to even out, make sure you do both sides. And then we will meet back in downward facing dog pose. And from this down dog now, let's bring our left foot forward to a lunge, okay? And now from here, you might want to grab your blocks to walk around, or you might not. We're going to walk around like we're coming into a wide-legged forward bend, right? So you've got your feet wide. And then bend your knees, bring your hands up to your thighs, and rise up. And we're going to now rotate our heels forward, our toes out, and come into a little goddess. Now don't make this extreme. Bend your knees a little bit. Feel the knees coming out over the center of your feet. Bring your arms straight out from your shoulders, and then bend your elbows to 90 degrees. And let yourself come into goddess here. So remember, the tailbone is reaching down, like kind of a little behind you actually, so you're not tucking it forward. You've got that natural curve in your low back. Good. And now when you inhale, straighten your legs and your arms, and like you're the letter X. Come really high with those arms. Let yourself reach out through the fingertips. And when you exhale, bend the knees again. Let yourself come back to goddess. And then again, inhale. Come into the long arms and long legs, reaching out. And then as you exhale, bend everything back again. Once you're bent, lift your right heel a little off the floor. And then bring it down. And bring your left heel a little off the floor. And lower it down. And then come back to that letter X again if you can. Maybe you want to lift both heels up here. Good luck with that. And then bring your heels down, bend your knees, come back into goddess. Bring your left arm on top of your right. Give yourself a hug. Or you may choose to do an eagle wrap. That's up to you. So come into where your shoulders feel good to be. If your legs are screaming at you, straighten your legs up, right? You don't have to keep them bent. That's up to you. You can move a little bit too. You can do that inhaling, straightening up a little, and exhaling, bending them. Good. And then unwrap those arms. Let the hands come on down. We're going to release the straight legs and turn our toes forward for paralleling our feet, and come on into a wide-legged forward bend. Bend your knees. Come on forward. Hands can be on blocks or the floor. You know that. And then once you're there, take your time to bend a knee at a time, easily. So getting into those inner thighs a little deeper. It might make you want to change how wide your stance is too. Good. And then come on back into center. Let your hands come out in front of you, whether you're on a block or the floor, right? So your back is long. We're going to add a twist. I like a block for a twist, but that's up to you. So keeping your left hand about in the midline of the body and bringing your right hand to your right hip, roll that right shoulder up, put your hand right there flat on your sacrum, and you can stay here or you can reach that right arm up. That's totally up to you. So you can keep your right hand right there, leveling out your sacrum, or you can stretch it up. Feel the feet gently pressing away from each other, inner thighs melting their way behind you. Good, and then bring yourself on back down with that right hand. We're just going to switch. So get that right hand in a good place to bring your left hand up. As you roll the shoulder up, you're still level right back here, like you could put a teacup with fluid in it, tea, whatever you like to drink. And then you don't want it to tip, right? You want to really stay level. You can stretch your arm up if you want. Press the feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. And then we're going to release to come on back down. And take your time. Set up to be in this pose for a few breaths, however you want to. Those blocks are really handy for forearms, for hands, for heads. You know, you're more than welcome to let yourself hold your ankles or put your hands between your feet. Get comfortable, in other words. Get to where you can stay for these breaths without feeling like you're struggling. Instead, you're just able to release into your breath. And you can even take time to feel those little spaces between your breaths. And if you find that it's easy to let your inhales get longer, just see if you can let your exhales do the same thing, right? So that you're still staying fairly even between your inhales and your exhales. One more nice, full, deep breath. And now take your time. We're going to come on back out forward a bit with our hands so we can walk back to our left foot and come on back into lunge. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. If you can, come on out to a plank. Let's do a little side plank work. So you can put your right knee down and do a little side plank using that right foot as a kickstand. Stretching your left arm up overhead, or you can do a full side plank if you like. That's totally up to you. If you got your knee down, you might want to lift that left foot up. Some of you may even want to turn to look up towards that hand up there after all that triangle work, and then bring your hand on back down, foot back down, come back into the center here in your plank. Walk a little bit your plank, bend one knee at a time. And then we're going to go to the left knee down if you're using the knee. Use the foot as a kickstand. Let your left hand be under your shoulder or reach your right arm up. And now if you want to stretch enough to get that right foot off the floor, you can. Or you can keep the foot down. And then you can look up if you want. Nice. And then we'll come back down with our hand. Come back to that plank. And you're welcome to move to a back bend of any kind that you want or not, right? You can come back into dog easily. Take your time. Move the way you need. Rest if you need to rest. Good. Finish off the one you're on so we can knee back in down dog. And this time we'll bring our right foot forward for that lunge. All right? Now we're going to walk around, remember, towards a wide-legged forward bend. Get your feet kind of, set up there before you rise up. And then bring your hands to your thighs. Come on up to standing. And then start to rotate your feet so that you're turning your toes out a bit. You're turning out from your hips. When your knees bend for goddess, they're right out over the center of the feet. and you're not tucking your tailbone forward, but don't make it a real deep goddess. Kind of stay up a little high. Bring your arms out, bend your elbows to 90 degrees. Let yourself find your goddess pose there. And now let's do that whole thing of straighten the legs, the arms, coming into that X when we inhale, and when we exhale, bending our knees again, and our elbows. And again, inhale, coming up into that letter X, really reach through the fingertips. Exhale, bend the knees a little bit, don't go real deep. And then one more time, inhale, letting yourself come up. And on the exhale, letting yourself come down. And we're going to bring our right arm over our left and give ourselves a hug. You can stay hugging, or you can send yourself into that eagle wrap if you choose. Coming where you can be. And again, if your legs are screaming at you, just come straighter. It doesn't matter. Focus on your shoulders. Let yourself release there between the shoulder blades on the back. Good. One more breath here. And then unwrap your arms, bring them on down, straighten your legs out, turn your toes forward, we're parallel, but before you come forward, let's do a little side stretch. So let your left hand kind of glue itself to the outside of your left leg, and start to reach your right arm up, and just come on over as far as you can into a side stretch there. So you'll find it usually feels really easier to do it when your legs are wide like this. Go as deep as you want. And then rise on back up. Use your belly to help you do that. Right hand glues to your right leg. It slides down. And then let yourself again come into your side stretch on the other side. Good. Nice. We're going to come on back up from there. And we're going to come on forward. Bend your knees a little bit. Take your time. Adjust as you come forward. If you like to stay with hands on blocks or elbows above your knees, by all means do. And move around however you want. Once you get yourself grounded, do what you need. You need to bend one knee at a time. If you like to walk a little bit with going to one side or the other, do. So let your body just kind of play around a little bit. So that when you do feel ready to come to release into your pose, you know, whether you want your hands between your feet, the more traditional pose with the elbows hugging in a little bit, the shoulders drawing away from your ears, or maybe you feel like it's much better for you to keep your back long and you can use blocks underneath your hands or your forearms, or elbows can rest above your knees. But again, be where you don't feel any struggle. Let yourself accept those full, deep breaths. And it is literally like you are accepting your breaths just as fully and deeply as you can. Good. One more full, complete deep breath, all the way in and all the way out. And then when you're ready, letting yourself walk back over to that right foot again, find your lunge again, and make your way on back into downward facing dog pose. You're on your own this time. Do what feels good or do nothing. Stay in dog if you want to. Be mindful so that you're not overdoing, and if you need to rest, let yourself rest. It's Friday. Good. And then finish off. If you're doing two sides, make sure you even yourself out. We'll go back into downward facing dog one more time. And then from here, bend your knees really deeply. Let yourself glance up at your hands. Not so long that you tense your neck up, right? But you can see how far it is to get there. And you can decide, do you want to walk or jump your way up to your hands with your feet coming forward into your standing forward bend? Once you get there, if you need blocks under your hands, use them. But see if you can lift your heels up. Come onto the balls of your feet. And then bend your knees with your heels up. Let your belly come towards your thighs. And then let the heels slowly come back down to the floor. And you come on into your forward bend, however straight you want your legs or however bent. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down, coming into mountain pose here. Just ease your way into mountain pose. If you need to wiggle your way into feeling more comfortable, sway your way into being more comfortable, whether your eyes are opened or closed, remember, just imagine you're looking way out. And even see if you can feel like you're in an empty, open field, right? Like there's nothing around you. And again, that sense of breathing in and out through every pore of your skin. Ready to let your arms come on down. You can stay like that forever. Shake it out just a little bit. And let's bring our mats into a wall. We've got plenty of room today. So bring your mat on in and take your time. Get your blocks. Once you get the short end of your mat into the wall, get your blocks. And now if you don't want to do this foot to the wall, warrior three, don't do it. You know, if it feels fine to you to let your right foot, we'll start with right leg back, to come into the wall with the toes facing down, right? Do it. And if you're like, my hip does not like this, I would rather do it as a balance without my foot at the wall, then do. And remember, it's fine when you're getting adjusted, you look at your right foot, you make sure the toes are down. It's fine to bend both your knees a little bit. Let yourself just enjoy pressing then into that foot on the wall. And you can come into straighter legs, pressing the foot in, and then imagine you're drawing it up towards the ceiling, right? You can come up a little higher on your hands to fist or fingertips too, if that feels good. And then you can decide if you want to put your left hand up on your low back. You kind of lay the back of your hand on your sacrum, and you can tell if you're level back there, if you've got that hip too high, that right hip, which none of you do. Now, if you want to twist a little bit there, you can go ahead and just roll that shoulder up, put your hand palm down on your sacrum. Let yourself, we've done some twisting to get ready for this, so if you're like, well, yeah, well, this is not what I'm doing, don't do it. And then come on, back down. See if you can let your left arm reach forward a little bit, bringing your gaze a little forward of your mat. Press into that foot a little more. Good. And then bring that hand back down. We're going to bring the foot back down, and all we're going to do is right away put our left foot onto the wall. And you know what's interesting sometimes when you do that is you feel like you've got to change. It's almost like your legs are different lengths, right? You feel like you have to maybe change just a little bit where you are in relation to the wall. Bend your knees a little bit now. You know, come into that, starting to slowly press into that left foot on the wall. Imagine you're trying to draw it up a little bit towards the ceiling. If you can be on fists or on fingertips, do. And then see about bringing your right hand on up to your hip, your low back. You don't have to twist. You can if you want. Pressing into that foot a little bit. Really comes into the outside of that supporting leg. Lengthen out through the top of your head. Doesn't that just feel amazing? And then put your hand back down for a second, and if you decide you want to reach your right arm forward, you can. You know, I forgot to say on the other side, anybody who wants to do both hands up is more than welcome to do that. So take your time, just let it feel good. Nice. And then when you're ready to come on back down, let your feet come down. You can separate your feet, elbows above your knees, or you can squat all the way down if you know that feels even better for your hips. So kind of follow what feels really good to let yourself release there. Be mindful, let it feel really good. You know, and anybody who likes crow pose, if you're down here in this squat and you want to practice that arm balance, you are more than welcome to. You know, you can bring your hands to the floor. You can let yourself practice a little bit of coming onto your hands, letting your feet float up a little bit, or not, right? Remember, that's more of a core pose than anything else. Although, man, it does a number on the wrists. It's the wrists that really get it in that, really. So coming down when you're ready. From here, it works real easy. All we're going to do is send ourselves back with our toes to the wall and come on into the child's pose for a couple of breaths. So be mindful as you do. If you know your knees don't let you shift your hips back to your heels, don't even think about it. Just keep your bottom up in the air. You know, it's fine to let yourself release wherever you can. You don't want to put stress into your knees. Good. And if you're up for a little more inverting, you're more than welcome to stretch your arms overhead and then come on up to hands and knees, curl your toes under, and come on into your dog with your heels up the wall, reaching back equally through your sitting bones. Now, you can always check your hands out. You can come forward to look at your hands. Make sure your pointer fingers are fairly parallel to each other. Wrist creases are about parallel to the front edge of your mat. And you know, you can do that handstand preparation work where you lift the leg up the wall if you choose to. You know, you don't have to. You can switch, you can come down anytime you want. I bet you if I look up, I'm going to see several people already both feet up the wall, so you know, you just play. Just lifting that left leg up is an intense hamstring stretch for that supporting leg. So, you know, we kind of really got into it today with Warrior 3 and all those twists that we've done. So take your time. And, you know, if you want to get out of your hands, come on down out of your hands and come to your forearms. You can play a little bit, same way on your forearms, you know that, so that you're not into the hands. The good thing about handstand work that's like at this angle though, you're not right over your hands like you are in a full handstand unless you get into that 90-degree angle. So sometimes it's fun to practice because with the hands instead of the forearms, because you're so far back, you know, when you lift up your foot, you can really still work on the strength, you know, of the arms and shoulders, but you don't have that wrist pressure, right? You know, rest whenever you need, and if you're done, be done. You may decide you want to rest in child's pose, or you might want to rest sitting up. And if you do want to go up again, go right ahead one more time, or finish the one you're on. Good. Release for a couple more breaths, especially if you just came down. Take your time. And we are all going to come around to sitting. So when you do, you may want to sit up on a blanket. We're going to do a little bit of stretching our left leg out and bringing our right leg over either to the figure 4, right? If your hips allow you to, bring that left foot a little more to the midline and see about coming into a half cow face where you've got your knees a little bit closer together and it's more like your thighs are together as well. That's not in everybody's hips, but if you can, and often sitting up on a blanket makes that much more doable, right? See if you can sit up nice and tall for a second. Now this is the hardest part. Bring your left arm out and up overhead and bend that elbow and let your hand come behind you. So these arms, bringing the right hand back to either rest on your low back or sending your hands towards each other. I think when you're in the half cow face are even harder, right? But it's fine to keep your hands far apart. Don't worry about it. Just let it feel like an openness for your shoulders here, as well as almost like your heart is coming a little bit forward, or that you're breathing in and out through your heart, which really opens the chest, keeping your gaze forward so that you're not rounding into the upper back. Now this is optional. If you like to come a little bit forward with your arms like this, be really careful because it is so intense. So don't do it. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. Or not. If it brings any kind of pain, don't do it. And then come on back up, release your arms on down, and now go ahead and think about coming forward a little bit. You might want to put your hands on your knees, or you might want to reach towards that foot down there. But think about coming forward with that long back, so keeping the length of the spine here. And then let your right hand come somewhere onto the outside of that right leg or the foot. You might even be down by the foot. And bring your left hand to your left hip. And then roll that left shoulder back and up a little bit, and there you are in a twist. And you're pressing your left leg gently into your right hand. There's the outside of your leg. Pretty big time. One more breath there. And then use your belly. Come on back to center. Take a breath here in that forward bend again. And then we're going to slowly rise on back up. And we're going to switch legs. So stretching the right leg out. And again, whether you come into more like a figure four, maybe a little bit farther, maybe farther yet to where you kind of get your knees in line. Adjusting the bottom leg can help a whole lot. You know, don't do anything that doesn't feel okay in your hip. And once you're seated, sit up tall, bring your right arm overhead, bend your elbow, put your right hand somewhere, behind your head, behind your neck, on your upper back. Left hand behind you. Maybe you just want to fold it gently. If that doesn't feel good to this left bottom shoulder, don't do it. So this bringing of the hands towards each other or letting them come closer together, totally optional. Just let yourself enjoy. And again, you want to sit up tall and imagine again that your heart's coming forward a little bit. So you've got that natural curve right up there in your upper back. Not the one we don't want as we get older, right? And then you can decide if you want to come forward or not. Don't force anything for the shoulders. And then slowly bring yourself back up. Let your arms come down. And then we're going to come forward again. Think of coming forward from your low back. You can always hold on to your knee and kind of help yourself a little bit there. You can reach out if you want to get your foot, your toes, your ankle, your shin, right? Be mindful. Let yourself enjoy. Coming into the back of that long leg. Good. And now let your left hand come to the outside of that right leg or foot. Right hand is going to come to your right hip. And you're twisting now with that right shoulder, drawing back and up towards the ceiling. And then pressing that right leg into your hand. Your hand is resisting. And there, man, oh man, is the whole outside of that right long leg, right? So be mindful. Good. One more breath. And then let yourself release and come on back. And we're going to rise on up from there and stretch your legs on out for a second. Release there. Shake it out. And we're going to come down to our backs. But before you go, get your strap handy and a block in case you want it. And then come on down so you don't have to move around and wiggle around to get your stuff. When you're ready, it's right there. Bring your knees on into your chest. And let your knees circle in one direction. And you can have your hands on your knees or not. That's up to you. But let the knees make circles in one direction. And then reverse those circles. It's like you're outlining your sacrum on the floor. So when you exhale, your knees come in towards your chest. When you inhale, they're way out. And if your hands are on your knees, your arms go straight. So you can let yourself just ease your way through your back here. Good. And then
bringing your knees back in. If you really want to curl up into a little ball, you can. You can bring your face in towards your knees and come into a little ball. That's not good for everybody's neck. And then come on down, bring your feet to the floor, and let's come into a bit of a bridge pose. Whether you want to do a supported bridge right away, or perhaps you want to go ahead and just float up into bridge pose. And let yourself either bend your elbows if you like that, or keep your arms straight with your palms down towards the ground. Remember, you want to get that sense of lengthening through the front of your body and through the back of your body. You're going to feel your quads. Hopefully we got pretty open in the front of the hips, which makes bridge pose feel a little easier. And of course, grab blocks if you want, one or two. If you want to be way up high supported, you can use 2 blocks at the lowest height stacked up underneath you. If you want to come onto a lower height and come to the 1 block, any height, just remember that 1 block, if you go to the highest height, is kind of tippy and it's also really high, so just be mindful. Good alignment of the feet. Remember too, where your feet are when you start bridge pose, how close they are in towards your buttocks makes a big difference in this pose. If your feet are too close, it becomes a little uncomfortable. It usually will maybe make your back pinch a little bit more, right? So just play. You're welcome to be in your bridge. Lift your heels up if that's fun. You're welcome to come up and down from bridge. So just be mindful. Let yourself enjoy. Hey, it's easier to do this.
I know.
What you're doing is scary.
I know. Thank you, teacher.
You're welcome. Good. So be mindful when you do get ready to come down. Take your time. And when you're down, let your knees come in towards your chest. You have to find the best relief for yourself after a bridge pose, after a back bend. So, sometimes coming into Happy Baby almost feels like too much after a bridge pose. Instead, you just want to let your knees come in. Or sometimes it feels good to come into a Happy Baby or a Baddha Konasana to let yourself release after a bridge. Good. And we are going to then let our feet come down and get our strap. And we're going to use the strap just to help us with a twist here. Let's bring the strap onto the ball of the right foot. Let your left knee be bent for a second. Let your foot be on the floor. Let that right knee really bend. And now make sure you're not like pulling heavily with your hands, right? So as you think of lengthening your left leg down long on the floor, let the right leg come away from you if you need, as you try to come maybe just a little straighter in your leg. It's fine to have a little bend too. And you certainly don't want to pull at your hamstring attachment. So that sitting bone that you sit on, that's where your hamstring attaches. So you certainly don't want to feel any kind of sensation of discomfort even. So take your time, find where your leg can be. Bring your left hand to hold on both ends of your strap. Stretch your right arm out beside you on the floor. And then just draw the leg over to the left. Now hopefully, after the stretch we did sitting, that half cow face, you're a little more open. You might decide, I want to keep going and going and going because it feels like a huge release. If not, don't do it. You can go 2 inches and be happy. Keep the right shoulder grounded. If you like to turn your head to the right, do. If you're lucky, maybe you'll get a little release in the spine. Sometimes a little pop, right? Just a little one. You feel like space is being created. One more breath. And now come on back up to the top with that leg. We're going to put our left foot up there in that strap. Put our right foot on the floor. Bend the left knee quite a bit so you kind of let your thigh slide a little towards the outer rib cage a bit. And then go ahead and see about lengthening your right leg down long on the floor. And again, if the left leg needs to come away from you when you come into a little bit straighter leg, let it come away from you. Bring both ends of the strap into your right hand, left arm out beside you on the floor, and start to draw the leg across the body to the right into a twist. So, you can stop after 2 or 3 inches and go, I can feel that already in the outer leg. Or you can continue over so the left hip comes off the floor. And if you'd like to turn to look towards the left, you can. One more breath. And now as you start to come on back up, go ahead and take both ends of the strap into your hands so you can put both feet in the straps. And then start to separate your feet for a little wide angle. Now how wide you go, whether it's 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, or maybe your hands want to go all the way to the ends of the 8-foot strap, right? That's up to you. You've got the control. You have the strap. You can let your feet press gently into the strap, and if you want a little more, kind of imagine you're pulling your strap towards you, but send your tailbone down at the same time. And there's a little bit more going on, for sure, but don't push it. Keep your knees bent if you need. Let your feet stay closer together if you want. Now we're going to send the feet back up and take our strap off. So be mindful of that metal end of that strap when you do. Put the strap on off to the side. Bring your knees in towards your chest. If you want to roll up into that little ball again, by all means do. Or come into what your body needs to do. If you need a happy baby, if you need to move your legs around in the air, bicycle a little bit, or do the back and forth movement, or another twist. If you just simply want your knees to come from one side to the other, do it. Just be mindful so that you feel, as I start to head around to get light, you feel like you're letting your body really kind of take over. To move in whatever way feels good. So that Shavasana becomes like just the next natural step. But you want to get all your wiggles out if you have any there. And I've got all this stuff, all these blankets, all these bolsters of different sizes. You have a wall there. Everybody has a wall today, so if you feel like, I'd really like to turn and put my legs up the wall, you can. If you need a blanket or any kind of support or cover, just wave to me. And if your back feels iffy, remember, bolster for under the knees can feel great. So feel free to move your arms or your legs to a little bit different place if you don't feel quite settled. Let yourself now accept your breaths in and out. And when your mind wanders off to other things, which it will do, it always does, it's okay, just gently bring your awareness back to your breath again. Giving yourself these few quiet minutes
to give your body and your brain time to benefit from all you just did. And there's nothing you need to do except kind of get out of your own way. Trust your body to get what it needs from everything you just did. And allow yourself to completely and fully relax. yourself come back to easily letting your breath come in and go out a little more fully and deeply, being aware of the body actually moving as you breathe in and out, a physical movement. And as those breaths deepen and start to refresh you, you start to feel like moving. Fingers and toes, hands and feet. You know, as you come into moving, let your arms, your legs do what you need to do. You can stretch, you can bring your knees up and in. You know, of course, you're welcome to roll to either your right or your left side if you're comfortable to do that, into a soft fetal position. Just let yourself be cradled by the ground a little bit longer. Take your time. I'm glad gravity's holding you down there. And of course, when you do feel ready to rise up, just take your time so that it feels really easy. You can kind of get comfortable in how you're sitting before you let your head start to rise to be right up on top again. So just gradually growing your way up, really. Getting comfortable for your hips. Letting your eyes close again if they opened on the way up. And letting your hands release to a place that feels comfortable for your shoulders. And just watching your breath coming in and going out through your nose. And on your next exhale, letting your hands gently come to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Friday and weekend.